Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. Dr. Leah is here with us to share a little bit about her journey in looking for fractional CFO help, what that was like, what made her want to reach out, and was the investment worth it? So definitely stay tuned at the end to hear what she has to say about that. I will give it up to Leah to go ahead and introduce herself.
Oh, well, Carla, thank you so much for having me, especially since I'm a big fan of this podcast. So it's wonderful
Yay!
to be on. My name is Leah Clionsky. I'm a psychologist and I own a private pay group practice, a 7-figure group practice. And I also have been really working on scaling this practice in a way that's sustainable and profitable, which I'm very open about. I think it's a little unusual for psychologists to be so open about the fact that they do that. But it's really important to me to protect my business because I'm taking care of so many people with the business, including myself and all of our clients. So every decision I make is a decision that I really thought about and calculated with an aim at protection first, getting in before there could be any real problems. And so that's why I reached out to Carla.
I love that proactive approach, which is what we're all here about. I wanted to just start by framing the conversation around what made you even get curious about what a CFO is. I know you share with me that you were kind of searching, like, what is a CFO? What do they do? And kind of Googling your way to find us ultimately. But just kind of walk me through what was on your mind when you were looking to reach out for help, because that's hard, right? Asking for help is hard. And we know not everybody's like, let me go find someone who can help me, especially if you're doing so well already in business.
So it's kind of interesting. I wasn't really looking for help. I was more looking for guidance, reassurance, and things I could be missing. So I am
I love that.
an avid podcast listener. So I listen to 10 plus hours of business podcasts a week. And this is one of the ways that I'm very proactive, is that I like to be ahead of the game, be really paying attention. And I'm aware that I did not go to business school. And so my goal is always to figure out what's going on in the industry and in business so that I can have the opportunities and the skill sets that all business owners are able to find. And through that process, Carla, I actually started listening to you talk on multiple podcasts. And I thought, maybe I need a CFO. Like, I don't always understand all of the details of the finances in my business. And I'm someone who works with a really great accountant who does pay attention. So about every year, she and I have this meeting where we go over the P&L and we talk about it. And she usually says things to me like, Leah, everything you touch turns to gold, which is really nice
Yay.
and reassuring.
We love
But
that.
like, I just want, like, as the business gets more complex, as there are more variables, and as I continue to scale, I really wanted more. I wanted, how do I get to this next level? How do I make sure that I'm not making some mistake that's going undetected? What are the real next steps that I need to take? And by the way, the finances now at 7 figures of revenue are getting really complicated. And even though they're on spreadsheets and I review them every week and every day to some degree, just to make sure things make sense, this is not my area. And I like to go to experts. So that's basically how I found you, Carla.
I love it. And it's so good to hear that there was nothing wrong, right? And you still felt the need to reach out for help, for reassurance, for just double checking to make sure nothing was getting missed. And you yourself, being an expert in your area and domain, seeked out an expert in the financial side and area. And you even said, your accountant was on top of it. So there was really no per se gap there. What it was is really a need of additional support, advisory consulting, kind of the next step where you're like, I want to enhance what I have, and who could there be that I can go to for support in that can help it break it down, that can help me deal with the variables, that can help me deal with that complexity that business brings, because there's so much at stake and we want to do it right. And we don't want to have a misstep because we didn't check and make sure that we had a good path to move forward. And I remember you saying clearly to me, you're like, I don't have a profitability problem, which is awesome, because I'm like, oh, she knows her numbers. This is even better, because we appreciate when clients come to us in that way. Sometimes clients are like, I don't know my numbers. And we're we're like, that's okay. We're here to close that gap for you, to help you navigate getting up to speed, learning your numbers. And also, if you already know them, we can move so much faster because now we can talk strategy. Now we can talk business growth. Now we can talk about what are some ways that we can help you grow that you haven't thought about. And I remember going through some of the work and really exploring new ways that you're like, oh, I had not considered that. And let me sit and think on that and come back and decide if I want to go that direction. But it was bringing in new ideas and really helping you think about your business in new ways that I think I heard your feedback from that being helpful and valuable in your navigating the journey.
I'm at this growth point. I'm very ambitious and I'm pretty unapologetic about that. And so I think my actual question was, if I want to scale this to 8 figures, what has to happen?
I remember.
I want to know the different paths. I want to make informed decisions, and I don't want to make mistakes at this point that cost me later. And I think that that is a way of being proactive and also self-protective while not stunting yourself out of fear. And that's just the way that I like to do things.
Yeah. And we went through some data, we analyzed some scenarios, we looked at some options, and we decided ultimately on a path that felt really good and aligned with the goals that you're trying to reach. Yes. And I do remember clearly hearing you, hey, I want to get to figures. What do we need to do? Let's go. And scaling is hard. Scaling is expensive. So doing it right the first time around just saves you from all that heartache later. And you and a lot of the business owners that we work with are ambitious, and that's okay. We like to make money around here. And that's why we're listening to this podcast, is we all want to do a little bit better and be able to do good in the world with that too, right? But also pay yourselves well as a CEO of the business as you're growing. So not scaling at the cost of profit is a big one that we believe in, that we are trying to help you navigate through as a client as we're going through the stages of growth. And we always talk about creating plans when you're working with a CFO, because a lot of businesses are very reactive and you're like, no, I want to be proactive. I want to start looking forward and I want to plan the future now so that I know what I'm trying to go for. So tell me a little bit about how that process felt for you, and have you done something like that before, or maybe not as in detail? Kind of just walk me through what the experience was like for you.
So my goal was to create a map, basically a roadmap of how I could get to where I want to go. And a lot of it was driven by 2 service options that I have in my clinic. We provide a treatment called parent-child interaction therapy that is so effective for kids, and it's hard to access quality PCIT. So I know that growing through that area is so powerful, especially because virtual treatment actually works even better, in my opinion, than in person. So I've been really wanting to grow that part of my business, provide more access to care. We also do forensic work, which a lot of people don't like doing, and that's also very lucrative. So I was thinking, I have these ways, how can we get there? And so the initial part of it was a lot of providing numbers. So it was a lot of like, this is where we are right now. This is what we're charging for these services. This is what we're bringing home on these services. This is how many hours each of the clinicians is working. I didn't expect it to be so research-based up front, but it makes sense that it has to be, because you only get as good of an answer as you get as the data you put into it.
Oh my God, 100%. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was a lot of, and made it interesting to think about, like, why have I made certain decisions? Why did I choose like this certain split with a contractor? Why did we choose to charge this amount? Things that at this point are just normal to me, but just getting back. And even if I decided to make no change at all, I like to know why I'm doing things. So that was really helpful to me, for sure.
Yeah. And we talk a lot about also decisions never being permanent in your business. You're allowed to revisit that. But even going back to the basics in this scenario where we were just revisiting what you were already doing, we weren't questioning, we weren't judging anything. We're just saying, what are we currently doing? Let's take a look at that. And then you're like, oh, that's interesting. And yeah, I might not want to change anything about it, but I can choose the right tool down the road, make a different decision if I need to for my business. But even just getting down to like understanding, okay, what's happening and why are we doing things this way? Just give you another lens in your business to understand what's going on. And then going forward, do we want to keep doing that intentionally, making decisions versus just allowing the status quo to be the way we go about business?
It's like therapy. You look back, why do I do the things that I do? Is it working for me?
Yeah. Is this serving me, or do we need to course correct, right? Because it's really easy to just maintain what you're already doing, right? It's hard to change. Change is hard. Like we talk to our clients a lot about this. We're like, you're going to have to do a lot of change management if you're changing and communicating something different to your team going forward. And so sometimes we get a lot of resistance. They're like, I don't know if that's worth it. I don't want to do this. Or like, you are still, when working with a CFO, still in 100% decision making and control over what you want to do with your business. We're just here to provide you a fresh perspective, data insights, and some ideas of things that maybe you didn't think about that could apply to your business to help you grow and achieve those goals faster with less pain. And so part of that process is also exploring what could be possible. And like, this is my favorite part of it. Like the getting back to basics, setting on the foundation, so critical. Because like you said, Leah, any crappy data we put in, we're going to get a crappy outcome from it. So we want to make sure the data is correct. We want to make sure everything is clean and ready to go for us to make decisions on. But when it gets interesting is when we explore options, looking at what can be done, how can we do it differently going forward without committing to any decision. Can you speak a little bit more about kind of that process of exploration that we went through together, and like how do you receive that? Because I know it can be easy when we're like, hey, what about changing this and changing that, and what do you think about this option? Was that overwhelming, or was that like, oh, I didn't even think that was an option, and then kind of make you think and take time to digest some of those ideas?
Well, because I'm very proactive and I basically wanted to do this so that I could have those decisions, like those conversations, I was, of course, very open to them. I mean, there were some things I didn't want to change that had to do with our model. But then there were some decisions, there were some things that I really considered and just changes I did decide to make. So for me, like I was basically saying, please give me, if this were your business, right? If you were me and you were going to want to make changes to make things more protected and profitable and support longevity and these goals, what would you want to do? Then you have to be open to receiving a whole bunch of answers, some of which you might say, you know what, that feels right to me. That goes in accordance with the way that I see this business going. And then there's some things where you're like, actually, this doesn't fit the way that I want to do it. And then you just have to be open to the fact that if you don't make the change, then you're not going to see a change in that particular area. But I think if you're not defensive, then it's collaborative. And then Carla can say, well, why don't you want to make that change? And you can explain, because it's still like there are intricacies to our industry and to the culture of the clinicians who work in our industry. So I think that's where being a clinician who's also a CEO is very helpful, because we can give that nuance that it's hard to know about if you're not a therapist or a psychologist in the actual practice. That's my approach to it. I would have been disappointed if it had been, well, don't change anything. Just keep doing exactly what you're doing.
That rarely happens. We're always creating ideas and options because there's always options. We just have to get a little bit deeper and ask different questions. And maybe it's not the areas you expected for us to come up with options, but it might be a different area that we picked up that we're like, hey, have you even like looked at this and considered this? And you're like, I didn't even think about that. And that is when we love to do that kind of work, because we're like, oh, we're getting onto something good, because we know they haven't thought about it and we did, and now we're talking about it. This is a good opportunity area for us to explore. Again, we might not change anything, and that's okay, but even having those conversations opens up your mind to the possibilities. And I think it's just important that business owners are seeking also support that gets their industry, because how easy was it for us to get up to speed quickly? Because we already knew private practice. We already knew, we might not know exactly your specific business, but just having the baseline expertise in mental health practices and working with private practices, we didn't waste time getting up to speed on like, hey, Leah, what is that? Wait, what is the reimbursement rate? Like, why are you charging that? And what kind of support are you doing? Like, we just know how to work with psychologists, practices that are delivering specialized services and that are ready for growth because you've done all the right things and you have a wait list and people are like waiting on services. So now that makes our job different, because now we're focused on, okay, how do we hire people faster? How do we make sure this grows quicker? And I know not everybody has those problems, but I think having that support that really gets you, that understands your industry, is just that much more valuable. I also want to go back to sharing a little bit about your business. And so for those who are interested in PCIT services too, if you're listening to a podcast and you're like, that sounds interesting, maybe this is the kind of support I needed, can you tell them, Leah, where they can find more information and what type of services you provide for support?
Oh, absolutely. We provide all kinds of child psychological services in my main practice, Thriving Child Center, which you can find at thrivingchildcenter.com. But the treatment I was talking about is actually a specialty treatment that we do in a specialty clinic within the practice. practice called PCIT Experts. It's a really effective treatment for kids aged 2 to 8 with any sort of challenging behavior. And it works in our clinic in usually about 12 virtual sessions. We just change the way that parents interact with their children through coaching. Very effective evidence-based treatment. And you can find specific information there at PCITexperts.com.
So needed. And I'm sure we have a lot of parents listening. And if you have not listened to Leah's podcast too, it's full of amazing information. I'm a parent and I tune in frequently because she's talking about such relevant topics. So please tell everyone what your podcast name is so they can go follow you too.
Oh yes, if you would like free parenting advice to solve your everyday parenting problems, you can listen to me at Educated Parent Podcast. It's really fun. It's very specific and the episodes are only 20 minutes long. So it's a podcast commute kind of episode.
Yeah, we love it. And I've been a guest on that. You'll see an episode come out soon too. So make sure you follow her to get the information when the episode is released. I just want to circle back, Leah. You talked a lot about what it's like to work with a CFO, like asking for help. We know it's hard, but just tell me, like, was it worth it, the investment on, working with a CFO? And I think this is what's in a lot of people's mind. They're like, well, why would I pay to work with a CFO? What am I going to get out of this investment? And it's not inexpensive. So I often hear people that is a barrier for them because it feels like a big risk to take when you don't know what you might get on the other side of it.
Yeah, well, I honestly think you get what you pay for in a lot of situations when you're dealing with expertise, right? I feel like it was worth it. And it's interesting because it's now the beginning of 2026. So we created a roadmap and now it's my job to act on the roadmap. And so if I do that and there are no huge weird things that happen this year, I mean, it will definitely be a huge return on the investment because the profitability of the practice will increase significantly. And it also already led to some small changes that I have already started implementing that should pay off pretty quickly. So I think it's one of those things where if you're running a larger business, like return on investment can happen very, very quickly if you make tweaks that are helpful, especially tweaks you would not have thought of yourself. The other nice part is now I feel like I've gotten a health of approval stamp on it. And so that lingering anxiety of, is there something I'm missing? Is there a problem in the health of the business that I fail to identify that is going to come out later and create havoc? I'm not worried anymore. And so that makes things a lot nicer as I continue to grow this practice.
Yeah. So I heard you say financial clarity really is what lets you sleep at night. It puts at ease your anxiety of anything that could go wrong, because we have explored ways that it could go wrong and what to watch out for and warning signs. And of course, things are going well, which is great, but there will be roadblocks, right? There will be things that get you off course, but having that plan allows you to get back on track and allows you to say, am I going to hit this goals or not? And then while it's happening, because this is the key, right? You're working the plan as it's happening, not waiting until you're off course completely to realize, oops, we missed a goal. You're every month you're checking with your plan, you're taking the actions to stay on track, to know that your likelihood is higher at hitting those goals we set. And we like to also be a little ambitious around here too. So sometimes we'll set a stretch goal. Sometimes we'll tell clients, here's your conservative, but here's your stretch goal, just in case you feel like superseding all of our expectations, which often happens because now they're like, I got clarity. Now I can take action without fear. I am confident in my plan. We've looked at all the things that could happen. And now I know how to make this happen and work for me. So I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what you do in 26 and achieve all those goals that we had set out. And I would love to just leave it with anything you would like to share about our company and your experience of working with us. If in case anyone else is out there looking for a CFO, why would they want to choose Wealth and Worth Within?
Well, I think especially if you're a therapy business owner, a mental health business owner, it's nice to work with someone who really understands your industry. It's wonderful to get all of these different paths and feedback. And of course, the feedback's always delivered gently, right? So even if you hear something you don't want to hear, you have to be able to find a way of hearing it and going into it with an open mind. I had a great experience and Carla is phenomenal. So if you're looking for this kind of support, I think Wealth and Worth Within is a great place to go.
Thank you so much, Leah. We never take it for granted that a client had a good experience. So we're very invested in your success and in your business. We do deeply care about our clients and making sure that they're, cared for, because they're caring for a lot of people. So since sometimes they forget to care for themselves, we're here to do that as well. And their financial health, of course, because everybody needs a financial treatment plan, right? So we want to be the ones alongside helping live all of that with you. So if you want more information about our services, make sure you check out our website, wealthworthwithin.com. cfocommunication.com, book a call, sign up for our newsletter, or listen to our podcast. We're at CEO Financial Clarity Corner, bringing you this kind of conversations to help you make better decisions and improve your financial outcomes. With that, thank you, Dr. Leah, for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
This was so fun. Well, everyone, I'll see you on next episodes. Bye.